And now we're going to go back and we're going to talk about the 4 elements of a valid legally enforceable contract in more detail. So first we're going to talk about agreement, and we're going to talk about offer and acceptance. First year law students spend a whole year talking about this stuff. But there are a number of different rules that have to do with the offer. And the most important one is when you make the offer, there must be sufficient specificity of terms so that the party on the other side and both parties know what it is that they have to do, what their duties are in order to complete performance of the contract. So for example, if I say to you, I'll give you $20,000 for your 56 Chevy, and you say yes, we have an agreement of sorts, but we have an agreement that is so unspecific in terms of terms that we could have all kinds of problems, because we didn't say, when are you supposed to deliver the Chevy to me? When am I supposed to give you the money? Do I have to give you all cash, or can I give you $1,000 down and payments of $500 a month? And if so, at what interest rate? A whole lot of terms that we didn't mention. Usually, to have a sufficient specificity of terms, you must have within there who the parties to the contract are, what is the subject matter of the contract, what is the timing of performance, when is the car to be delivered and when is the money to be delivered, and the terms of payment. Is it all cash? Is it a little bit down and payments or promissory note? So these things must all be covered in the offer, or the person cannot accept on the other side and have a binding contract because he doesn't know what all the specific duties that he's supposed to perform. When you make an offer, it's got to be a serious intention to be bound. So if I say I'll give you $20,000 for your Chevy, I'm intending to be bound to pay you for that Chevy. But if I say, if the Niners lose this football game, I'll eat my hat, we all know that's kind of it's just an expression. It's not a real legal intent to be bound. Although some hardcore sports fans would probably disagree with me about that. So we have to have definiteness of terms. We also have to have the offer communicated to the offeree by the offeror. If I'm sitting with your cousin George and I say, wow, you know, if Sam ever sells that 56 Chevy, I'd be willing to pay him as much as $20,000 for it. And George goes and tells Sam, hey, Bob says he'll pay you $20,000 for that 56 Chevy. Sam can't say sold, because I never made the offer to him. I was just expressing an opinion about a future intention to George. So the offer's got to be made directly to the guy who's the offeree. An expression of opinion is not an offer. I think your Chevy may be worth as much as $30,000. The guy says sold. I didn't make you an offer. I just expressed an opinion about the value. Preliminary negotiations are not an offer. Here's an interesting one. Advertisements in the law are not considered to be an offer. So the reason for that is you see an ad in the paper and it says 72-inch flat screen TVs on sale, $50 a piece. So you rush down to the store with your $50 to buy a 72-inch flat screen TV, and they say, we're sorry, that was a typographical error in the ad. We're not selling 72-inch flat screen TVs for $50. The sale price was $500, and there was a misplacement of the decimal point. Because those problems come up, and customers sometimes run in and say, no, you're legally bound to sell me. You made an offer to sell me a TV for $50. You got to sell me that TV for $50. The law has interpreted advertisements as an offer by the store for you to come in and make them an offer at $50, and then they'll accept or deny or reject your offer. Same thing with auctions. When the auctioneer says, who'll give me 50, he's not actually making an offer to you. He's asking you to make an offer to him, and then he can decide to accept or reject your $50 bid. Offers can be revocable or irrevocable. You want to sell me your 56 Chevy for $20,000, you have to let me know right now or the offer's revoked. Or, hey, will you sell me your 56 Chevy for $20,000? I don't know, let me think about it. Well, will you at least leave the Chevy off the market until you decide? Like, will you give me until Friday to figure out if I can come up with more cash? Or I can come up with the cash to buy it from you for $30,000. Okay, I'll tell you what, you give me $100 good faith money now, and I will keep the offer to sell my Chevy for $30,000. I will keep my Chevy off the market for 5 days. But if you don't come up with the money by Friday at 5 o'clock, then the deal's off. Okay, so at that point, the offer to sell the Chevy for $30,000 is irrevocable between now and Friday at 5 o'clock. There are a number of ways that an offer can be terminated or can be rejected. In terms of rejection, the no-brainer rejection is, will you sell me the Chevy for $10,000? No, I think it's worth more than that. That's a rejection. But will you sell me the Chevy for $10,000? No, but I'll take $20,000. Okay, when I make a counter offer, that rejects the original offer of $10,000 that was made to me. That offer's off the table now, and I can't accept that and form a binding contract because I made a counter offer, and now it's up to the guy on the other side whether he wants to accept my counter offer or not. So that's offer and rejection of the offer and counter offer. But there are other ways that an offer that's still open could be terminated by operation of law. Here's a couple of examples. I'll hold the offer open until Friday at 5 o'clock. You let me know yes or no by then. Friday at 5 o'clock comes and goes and you don't answer. At 6 o'clock you say, I've decided to accept your offer. Nope, too late. The offer was terminated by the lapse of the time limit. Will you sell me your 56 Chevy for $20,000? I don't know, let me think about it overnight and I'll let you know in the morning. Okay, but I'm driving the Chevy home tonight and I crash it in a car crash and it's totally destroyed. Destruction of the subject matter terminates the offer. Will you sell me your 56 Chevy for $20,000? I don't know, let me think about it, I'll let you know in the morning, but on the way home tonight I get hit by a bus and killed. Death or incompetence of one of the parties terminates the offer. And then the third thing, there's lapse of time, destruction of the subject matter, and death or incompetence of the parties. And then the fourth way that an offer can be terminated is supervening illegality. And that's a rather rare one, but it does happen. So you say, will you sell me your 56 Chevy for $20,000? I don't know, I'll tell you what, I'll let you know on Friday, and it's Monday. And so on Tuesday, the California legislature passes a new law that says from now on it's illegal for anyone in the state of California to own, buy, or sell a gasoline-powered car, because we're going all electric to save the environment. So now it's illegal for you to buy or sell or own a gasoline-powered car, and so the offer about buying or selling that 56 Chevy is terminated by a supervening illegality, making it illegal. So those are the different ways that an offer can be rejected, or rejected by a counteroffer, or terminated by law. And we have also historically, just for point of historic interest, we have one other thing about offers that's kind of interesting. We used to have a bunch of laws we had to learn that were called the Mailbox Laws. And they had to do with the days when offers and acceptances of contracts were passing back and forth through the mail. And the problem arose when someone said, first guy to accept my offer to sell my Chevy for $20,000 gets the car. And so two guys mail in an acceptance of the offer, two different guys. One guy mails his acceptance of the offer in on Monday, but it's delayed in the mail and it doesn't get to him until to the seller until Friday. The other guy doesn't mail his until Tuesday, but it goes through the mail fast and it gets there on Thursday before the other guy's offer arrives on Friday. Who gets the car? And so we had all these complicated rules about when your offer was postmarked and all that stuff. nobody cares anymore because nobody sends contract offers and acceptances back and forth through the snail mail nowadays. It all goes by phone, email, or fax machine. And so the letterbox rules, which were an important, complicated part of contract law, are pretty much extinct dinosaur concepts now, and I don't require you to learn any of them. Just be aware that historically they exist. So that's a lot of complicated rules about the offer and when you can accept the offer and form a binding legal contract. But when we get to the idea of the acceptance of the offer to form a binding legal contract, there is really only one critically important rule with regard to the law of acceptance, and that is what is called the mirror image rule. And it means you must accept, if to form a binding contract, you must accept the mirror image of all of the specific terms that were offered to you. If you're not accepting all those terms just the way they were offered, you're not forming a binding contract, you're making a counteroffer. So a guy says to you, I'll pay you $30,000 for the '56 Chevy, but only if you deliver it by Wednesday so I can show it in the car show on Thursday, and I'll pay you $30,000 for it, but I'll pay you $10,000 down, and I'll give you a promissory note for the other $20,000. I'll pay you $500 a month at 6% interest. And you come back and you say, okay, I can deliver the car by Wednesday. I'll take $30,000 for it. You can pay me $10,000 down. I'll take a promissory note for the other $20,000. You can make me payments of $500 a month, but I think 6% is low. You're going to have to pay me 8%. Well, you tried to change one term of all those terms, and as soon as you try to change one term or any of the terms of the agreement, you have not accepted the offer and formed a binding legal contract. You have made a counter offer to the other guy, which takes the original offer off the table, and now it's up to the other guy whether or not he wants to accept your counter offer. So if you're going to form a binding legal contract, you must accept the offer exactly as it was offered. And one other thing about, a couple other things about that. You got to accept the offer before any time limit is given that expires. But also, if the offer specifies a method that must be used to communicate the offer, to communicate the acceptance, you must use that means of communications or you have not adequately accepted the offer. So if the offer says, I'll sell you the Chevy for $20,000, but you got to let me know by Friday at 5 o'clock by email, and you let them know by Friday at 5 o'clock by a phone call or a letter, you have not formed a binding contract, because it said you can only accept by email. So you must use the form of communication specified in the offer if there's any specification in the offer. Okay, that's it on offer and acceptance.